but it now reflects somewhere else.
To our coordinator here to take those questions for us.
Please give all of them a round of applause. We have 4 questions here, and one question will be directed to each of the panelists. But first, I'd like to properly introduce the 2 panelists that are representing the actual people in the program. From Avon HMO, the lady there is Mrs. Kendi Oyeshiku. She's the Chief Commercial Officer of Avon HMO. And our brother from NHIS is Dr. Bethwell Kasumu Abraham. He's the Assistant General Manager, Standard and Quality Assurance, NHIS Lagos Zonal Office. We'll start off with Mrs. Adenusi. There's a question here that says the proposed public-private cooperation within the social health insurance scheme. What is going to be the role of the general practitioner clinic in it? I know that the bedrock is there, so the bedrock is this bedrock of this primary health care thing and the general practice. How do you want to include those that are running GP clinics in this whole scheme? Is it short and sharp?
Okay, so the scheme already recognizes healthcare providers both in the public and private sector. And as I see it here, we have 180-something and estimated healthcare facilities already in the provider network. And the private sector takes the larger chunk, over 100, while we have the others from the public sector. So whether it's primary or secondary care services, the private sector is fully involved in that. And maybe I should speak again to another aspect which came out in one of the questions, even to the keynote speaker, was the issue of private sector, public sector, PHC, access to finance. That was brought up. And under the Lagos State Health Scheme, there's also that initiative, Access to Finance Initiative, that involves private sector running or operating a primary healthcare center that has been found not to be functional. So to bring them to functionality, the state of functionality, there's that collaboration between private operators, and some are actually private hospitals who will now run these primary healthcare centers. And the fund is a combination of funds drawn from the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, Bank of Industry, as well as commercial banks. So depending on the amount that you are to access as a loan, it could either be from the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, and whatever is coming out of there is matched by the Bank of Industry. And if it's beyond a certain limit, I think about 20 million, I don't want to misquote here because it's not directly under my purview, then you have to approach the commercial bank, who will now give it as an interest, at an interest rate that is lower than the commercial interest rate.
So please, if you run a general clinic, a GP clinic, and you feel that you want to be involved in the private, please visit the offices of the Lagos State Health Management Agency, and I'm sure that you will find out more details about how you can be for AGM NHIS. In view of prices of services, you mentioned that the key factor is movement of service prices. In our country, Nigeria, the above movement is not uniform. What is uniform is the devaluation of the currency. So in reviewing prices, shouldn't the key factor be the rate of the currency devaluation? Do you agree?
Well, partially. Yes. In reviewing prices, you don't just look at the devaluation in the strength of the currency alone. You also look at the numbers you have garnered over time. For example, if prices were put at X at a time where, let's say, the strength of the currency was, say, 159 to $1, and you want to review prices when it's 360 to $1, but the numbers you have covered at that time has now become 2x.
Mrs. Oyeshiku, many providers are buckling under the weight of huge debts owed to them by HMOs. This inevitably affects the quality of service they provide and their viability and the viability of their businesses. What can be done to mandate HMOs to pay claims to providers within a stipulated period, or improve the time frame within which claims are being paid in order to ensure some steady level of service delivery on the part of the provider?
Thank you. The HMOs cannot provide the service. Obviously, we have to provide the services through the providers. And so that relationship really is the bedrock of the entire scheme, the relationship between the HMO and the provider. The providers run a business, and it has to be viable, it has to be sustainable, and so the HMOs have to pay for the services rendered. Part of what I see in terms of claims payments and delay in claims are several factors. Sometimes it's the way the claim is presented, errors in the claims presented, issues where the HMOs have to, certain reviews that have to go on. Most clean claims are paid quickly for the service. So really, you can't work without the providers and that. So, please, the claims are put in quickly. There's sometimes providers putting claims a long time after the service was rendered.
We have the benefit of having Dr. Oshuli here. So this message can go back to HMCAN as well as HCPAN. Please find a way between these two bodies to ensure that steps are put in place to reduce the child injustice. They're still available. You can speak to them, and of course you can call them directly or visit them at their offices. They will attend to you timeously. We need to move on to the next session. Before then, we'll give them can I have their branded pillows, please? Panelists, branded pillows for the panelists.
We can take a bow and step down. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We can take that very quickly. Both our speakers have been here for a very long time and would like to bring them forward immediately. Can we have Dr. Christian Makwe step forward, and of course Dr. Akishola Akinde, consultant obstetric gynecology representative, Sogon Society is to update us on how we can have improved antenatal care and perinatal outcomes. Those two are very, very important in keeping in line with our Millennium Development Goals. It's very important for us to have this antenatal care and perinatal outcomes. Dr. Makwe, you have the presentation there, looking at the back of it. Antenatal care. Because several women, as the population is exploding, it's because several women are going through the process of giving a successful delivery to have good antenatal care and to examine the patient in such a way that any antenatal care, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, are the things that they need to take note of as they're leaving this conference, to know that yes, these are the stages that we need to, before we now go to the actual practitioners on ground. You are in the classroom teaching us. That's why we're giving you the responsibility of telling us what are those stages, what are those things that we need to do academically, the theoretical part of it, to achieve those two key things, the antenatal care and of course the perinatal outcome. Because our neonatal services here are very few and far between. So what are those things that need to be done to ensure that we have those outcomes at the end of the day? Where is this?
Because of time. Some of the statistics about maternal mortality and morbidity and perinatal mortality and morbidity has been expressed. But the truth about these things are the differentials. Most of these deaths happen in developing countries or low resource and medium income countries. And if you compare to developed countries, they are far wider apart. So what we need to do is to do what they have done to get their figures to where it is and very favorable. Next one. This is basically what kills our women and what causes perinatal mortality. Next slide. Next slide. Or determinants that cause this poor outcome are not things that are very close to you. So when you look at this slide, what I was trying to highlight are the distal determinants. Poverty. Seeing a patient, some of those things you cannot control because it leads to maternal undernutrition, which will affect maternal health, impair maternal outcome, and also result in poor perinatal outcome. So I just try to highlight that there are things that are not under our control. Because one of the questions people ask, despite the expansion in the number of doctors and all that, we have not been able to bring our figures down because we have to also take care of the distant determinants. Next slide. Now, most of the time we talk about antenatal care, improving the quality of antenatal care. But in order to improve both maternal and perinatal outcome, it's a continuum. It has to start before pregnancy. There are things if you do during the preconception or pre-pregnancy period that will definitely improve both maternal and perinatal outcome. So it's good for us to understand that we have to start before pregnancy, and I can tell you most of our women do not come for pre-pregnancy care. Only few of them. And even when we have the opportunity, for those ones coming for infertility, we miss the opportunity to properly screen them and correct some of the factors and things we can do. I'm trying to put something in pregnancy period. A lot of the events there, that's where most of the maternal morbidity and mortality happen, both to the mother and the baby. So we also must focus attention, not only on the antenatal part, but also the intrapartum care. Next slide. Keep going, next slide. So, the direction people are moving to is what is evidence-based, what works. So when you want to improve healthcare in terms of mother and child, what definitely works? What are the interventions that have been shown to be effective? And that's what we should focus, because those are the factors that have brought down the perinatal morbidity and mortality and the maternal mortality and morbidity in developed conditions. The risk of going through pregnancy is so high that you know either the woman will die or the babies will end up having some complications. Some of those women, we might discourage them or advise them not to get pregnant. And contraception will help to bring down our figures. Not allowing everybody to get pregnant. You have a woman who has chronic or end-stage renal disease or have gone for transplant, has one kidney, has other issues. But she wants to get pregnant because of the premium on childbirth in this part of the world. Some of them, if we look at the background and we feel it's not safe, we should try to counsel them appropriately. But what things like folic acid supplementation have been shown to prevent neural tube defect, which is a form of congenital anomaly. So if you could do that before pregnancy, you will improve outcome. We have other things about childbirth. Next slide. So what you are seeing basically are the what we call effect estimates. The thing you see is 0.22. You can just multiply by 100. What it means, like for use of intermittent insecticide treated nets, if you implement it effectively, you could reduce stillbirth rate by 22% just by using that intervention. So that has been shown to work. You could go through a lot of them. Okay? Detection of hypertension during pregnancy, detection of diabetes or hyperglycemia during pregnancy, detection of intrauterine growth restriction. If you could pick all those things and implement those strategies, they are known to prevent antepartum and intrapartum stillbirth.
Of equipment within the private facilities that also, if you had a paying patient, would have the problem of not being able to access it? Or is it easy for you if you don't have the facilities to write the test and go and ask the patient to do it and bring back the results? is the challenge of not having these equipments within these facilities, is it a major problem, or is it just one of those
equipment,
laboratory equipment to carry out this?
Because even when you don't have them in-house, there are designated laboratories. Where patients who run those tests and bring the result to you. So it's not a problem of equipment not being available in private facilities. It's a problem of affordability. Patients that are designated laboratories that give out quality reports.
They give us the benefit package, and we threw it back at them that this benefit package would not fit into the cost. But they are particular about their direction. The intervention that they wanted to use health insurance scheme to solve: one, maternal mortality rates, as well as the infant indices. Now, what are those tests that are necessary? Now, the area of disconnect is what is the cost of all this when you now factor it under this capitation. And that's where this issue of capitation comes in. Because you are not going to pay me that capitation and it will still fit into that. But the purpose of that insurance scheme is geared towards that, reducing the maternal mortality rate, and they have to do all those tests. Now, under that scheme, you are also allowed for 2 scans, early and late. Are we saying that that also is covered under that competition? That is also another area of consideration. The third area is that there are a lot of things that are coming under competition, and we feel that with the sum that is being given, you understand, it cannot cover. And that is the area that we're still having issues and questions and all that. And except we come to the round table again and discuss further on this, they may be promoting quackery. And in essence, the quality will drop.
Okay.
Yes.
Distinguished practitioners, is that a way forward?
It won't work. It won't work.
Why would it work?
The reason why it won't work is that the patient needs 4 weeks.
They will not go to BT. BT is a tertiary institution. This is part of the problem. It will not go to BT.
I'm just giving you an example. That's what happens.
No, it will not go to BT, sir. It will not go to BT, sir. BT is a tertiary facility.
This is whatever. You could use the private, you could use the government, and you come to an average that is meaningful. Because I think what has happened is that people just assume this cost, and it's not reflective of the true cost. And once there's that disparity, then you cannot.
But he has given the cost of a scan. If the cost of a scan is 1,000 naira, if a facility is guaranteed, how many thousands of people are going to come to that facility? He's looking for 1,000 naira from 20 private patients when he can get 200 from 20,000 in the same month. What is that? You have the numbers. Yes, sir. What are the things that are not going to make it work? Let's not argue. We are here to provide solutions.
I share your optimism, but it doesn't work that way. Now the reason is this. I feel that providers don't need, for them to include diagnosis in my capitation. You understand? We could have a diagnostic center within your community, registered. You understand?
That is what
exactly. So that one will work.
So what will not work?
But it will not work if you ask me to accept loads of people coming at a cost of 200 naira, because maintenance, wear and tear.
They are talking metaphorically,
Right.
sir.
That one would not
All
work.
those who are involved in the process will agree on the appropriate cost, take this burden away so that they can move on with their primary function. There are enough diagnostic facilities and enough laboratory facilities in Lagos. And if we don't have, let people go into that business. It is a service that you want to offer, and you will get paid when you get to that point. Let them be the ones arguing with Lagos. Let the funds that is available to them are the funds that they withdraw into. Go and buy the machine with the assistance of the government and start paying it back bit by bit.
Let the government supply us.
Who believes that this will not work? That's what we want to hear. Who believes that this will not work and why?
It's difficult to categorically say it will work or it will not work, because there are some exceptions that I'm thinking about. Now, you have an anesthetist for a woman who needs a care, or you needs an intervention, and you need EU criteria, for instance. This woman obviously cannot move to any of these referral centers. There must be a provision that each the facility should be able to provide. And anybody having anything to do with antenatal care,
but you can use it automatically to get professional money. This is this is 120.
You guys do the screening for
That's the problem.
Without involving me. And then the doors are open. Are you alive? You also control HCPAN, Healthcare Providers Association of Nigeria. Panelists. As you can see, lunch is being served in a very democratic way, so therefore we can continue with the business. The next speakers are here. They've been here all day, and I think without much ado, we should continue so that we can get to the nitty-gritty. You can tell from Dr. Adedokun's speech that there's a lot of problem around mental health and the issues surrounding the well-being of the general practitioner. So therefore, this esteemed conference has set aside time to deal with this issue. And the next panel of discussants are going to look at the mental well-being of the health professionals. You'll agree with me that this is a very, very crucial topic, and perhaps one of the leading topics for the theme of this session. So please, let's make maximum use of the people that are here, and let's learn how we can improve on our mental well-being so that we can function more effectively and we can take care of ourselves. When Dr. Akeredolu was reading the physician's pledge, oath, he harped on one particular phrase. If you all remember, yes, the phrase that spoke about you taking care of yourself. So please, let's pay good attention and take away something from here that can help us to achieve this. So I'd like to call on my panelists that are here for us to go on to the next session. Chairman, can you take this off, please? To go on with this, I have Dr. Maimuna Kadiri, MD, Psychiatrist in Chief for Pinnacle Medical Services. She's here, present. Please step forward, madam. A round of applause for her. Tranquil and Quest, also here present. Please come forward. Another round of applause, please. We have Dr. Grace Ijaroba. Ijarobe. Consultant psychiatrist and public speaker, please take your seat. Dr. Peter Ogunubi, consultant physicist, psychiatrist, lecturer, University of Lagos. Please come forward. A round of applause for him, please. And the moderator for this session is Dr. Mojubola Abiri. Abiri? Yes. Consultant psychiatrist, CEO, Ready-Made Consulting Services. Madam, over to you.
All right. Dear healthcare professional, you take care of everyone. Who takes care of you? Good afternoon, respected teachers, senior colleagues and colleagues. I'd like to welcome you to this highly anticipated, and I like how that she said it is highly anticipated. It is a delicate and yet topical issue, the mental well-being of healthcare professionals. We've already been well introduced, and I'd like to say that everyone here is a psychiatrist. So we'll just start the conversation. Mental health is extremely important, and the mental health of healthcare professionals is even much more important, especially as we take care of patients. Any and every mistake that we make can result in a life. Every error or misjudgment because of our mental health state can affect any and everything. So it is extremely important that at all times we are in health. It is said that health is not just the absence of disease or infirmity, but a complete state of physical, mental, and social well-being. And much more importantly is the fact that mental health is a successful completion of thoughts, mood, behavior in such a way that the individual is able to have productive activities, can live in peace and harmony with other people, and can face adversity. My first question this afternoon would be directed at Dr. Ijarobe. It is said that doctors are depressed, burned out, and and stressed. Do you agree?
Good afternoon, respected members of AGPMPN. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. And the question is, are doctors under stress? I think ideally, even the very nature of our profession puts us under stress. For instance, how many trauma cases did we see in the last 1 week? Many of us, so many. How many cases of that did we handle that did not go the way we wanted it to, or that had adverse outcome? Probably quite a few. But how do we, what we have been trained to do is just to handle it on a superficial level. Don't react so that your patients don't see you, being afraid or being scared. But it doesn't mean that we don't go through the emotions. We don't go through the thinking, the processes. And then how do we debrief? So working as a physician, just by nature of your professional calling, is stress. Now, by the time you couple it with the working environment, overwork, so much pressure on the staffing, on the personnel, lack of facility, lack of equipment. The average doctor juggles many things, improvises in so many ways, that one cannot even imagine. And so that's another level of stress. Meeting people that you have the capacity to care for, and yet you are not able to care for them because they can't pay for your service or because you don't have the equipment to care for them, is another level of stress. So is the average doctor under pressure? Yes, a lot of pressure, especially in our own working climate.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tari. Dr. Peter, do you agree that the mental well-being of doctors is reaching a point of crisis in Nigeria?
Well, I cannot agree less. Because, let's look at it. Sometimes you are driving on the road and then you see an accident. Sometimes you see some accident, you wonder, how did this one happen? You see a trailer that was supposed to go to Ibadan, is now facing Lagos, and it's causing crisis. You now wonder maybe the driver has slept off, maybe he has put block on the accelerator or brake, and he just slept. That is exactly what is happening to some health workers. Some of us, the discussion is going to build, I'm not going to go back to whether we are stressed or not, but we have believed here, and just as she has deduced that we are stressed. I'm not talking about the consequence, talk about the crisis that we're having on our hands. So we are talking about an emergency situation here. We are seeing medical negligence. We are seeing cases that on a normal day you will not have made such mistake. But because everybody is stressed, everybody is tired, we do things. Sometimes you see a doctor check his BP or her BP and it's 180 something. And you say, when was the last time you had a rest? When was the last time you slept? He's trying to remember because work just had to be done. So in terms of mistakes, stress is showing because we are making. For example, when I lost my brother, I was stressed up and I had to work. And that very day, I wanted to write Telpitor. I wrote Triptizol. Telpitor 200 milligram. I wrote Triptizol 200 milligram. My colleagues are saying because Triptizol comes in 50 milligram. The maximum you want to give is 7,500. Imagine me writing Triptizol 200 milligram BD. Thank God for the father of the patient. He said, doctor, they went to buy the drugs and the thing was color brown. And they said, this one is different from what we've been taking. They called me on phone. But something just said, they said it's different. The next thing I wanted to say was, oh, it's another company. Go home and be using it. But I said, brown? No, Tegretol comes in orange. I said, come back to the hospital and show me. And I saw, imagine we are taking 200 BD, Triptizol, death. Why? Because I was stressed. And instead of me to excuse myself and seek help, what just had to be done? So I think that is what we need to know now that we're at the point of crisis and we need to address this.
All right, thank you, Dr. Peter. I'll move over to Dr. Kadri. And the question I have for you is, how much of a priority, in your own experience, does the mental well-being of healthcare professionals receive?
Thank you once again. I'm happy to be here, and I think that question shouldn't be directed to me. I think everybody in this hall, if I want to reiterate that question, how much you sitting down here now as a healthcare provider, how much do you prioritize your mental health? It's an assignment for you. And we're just here to start the conversation. The truth is, the priority is infinitesimal, is very low. If you want to place it on a scale of 1 to 10, it should be -1. We do not prioritize our mental health in any which way. Because even our physical health, we compromise it to an extent where doctor will drop dead. Not talk of our mental state. Just because we are all looking up, nobody here sitting down here now would say there's anything wrong with anyone. We are all well dressed. The ladies have their wigs and makeup on. Your red lipstick is pumping. The men are all well dressed in their shirt and tie and wear cut hair. So no one will know who is taking amitriptyline or carbamazepine or even, olanzapine or risperidone. No one here will. But as you sit down, count for each 5 of you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Add the 5th person. 1, 2, 3, 4. Add the 5th person. 1 out of every 5 healthcare worker right now is depressed. That is the truth. This is not a matter of God forbid, back to sender. It is not my portion. Whose portion is it? You cannot reject about your mental status before you point fingers at people, at your patient, at your client. Are you mentally stable? That is the question we have to ask ourselves. Peter just talked about his own case. His brother died, he came to the hospital. My stepmom died last year. My stepmom is more like a mom to me because she was already married to my father before they gave birth to me. And I believe because my dad had married my mom, saw the kind of woman he married, very light, beautiful. He now saw a girl who looked very much like the wife he had at home and married her. So when you come to my house, you will take my mom's message to my stepmom, and then she will tell you, no, I don't think this message is for me, it's for my second. They were that alike, and they had almost the same names that started with M. When she died, it hit me so hard, and I had to run my clinic. But that day, a patient walked up to me and said, "Doctor, can I hug you?" I said, "Yes, please. I need this hug more than you need this hug." How often do we even examine our mental status and say, look, damn the money, damn the patient, today I want to sleep in. Take out the calls. I'm not going to answer any call. I just want to take care of myself. No, the truth is that hunger is there. No, the truth is that poverty is still very high on our list. Poverty is still very high on our list, but you understand that it's even one of the risk factors anyway. So our mental status must be prioritized to that level where you shouldn't be apologetic about your mental status. You shouldn't apologize for the fact that today I can't just do it. I am not in that state of mind. My sanity matters. I need to prioritize it. You as a healthcare provider need to start doing that before you dish out the advice and the prescription and to-do list. You have to start that because you matter.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kadiri. And I feel more had to come to play. But she's given us a very important message. When you do get home, look at the man in the mirror and find out how exactly your own mental state is. Now, Dr. Debbie, the two examples that we've had looked at personal effects or personal consequences of mental health issues. Beyond the personal consequences, what are some of the effects that all of the mental health issues can have on the healthcare practitioner's practice?
Okay, it's an honor to be here to discuss with my colleagues, my elders, my teachers. Talking about the impact, I think first things first for me would be to look again at what mental health is all about. Mental health is a broad name that covers everything that impacts on one's behavior, on one's thinking, and on one's mood. What I always like to call, rather than think of ATM machine, think about BTM. Your behavior, your thinking, and your mood. Anything that impacts on your thinking pattern will impact on your life. And anything that impacts on your life, so if we look at the organization, we talk about, I think we'll go into that later, but many times the problem is that we don't even know when we are having mental health issues. We don't, let me give an everyday example. Have you had to quickly refer somebody out of your hospital for fear that the person will die in your facility because of a previous experience? You find yourself overly worked up, overly anxious. You have just experienced something called a post-traumatic experience. You've had someone, you've lost somebody. In fact, sometimes you may have had to care for someone so much when the person died and the way the family came after you. It just puts you, ever since that incident, every time you have anything close to it, you are worked up without even knowing that it is because you were not debriefed or you didn't go through a proper process after the first incident. So it begins to impact, mental health impacts on everything. It impacts on your finances. It impacts, sometimes you may say, oh, I have to keep working. But sometimes I remind myself that I use this story with myself. My father-in-law died 2-3 years ago. About 2-3 years ago. His name was Sam. When Sam died, another Sam was employed in his place. As in, the man who replaced him was also Sam. A coincidence. But I use that to remind myself that when you die, my wife was telling me recently, said, because someone passed in my church, and then we went to attend his remarriage. He married somebody else. So my wife jokingly said, if I die, the church members will come and attend. When you marry a second wife, they will come. So we need to understand that it impacts on even the money that you are searching for. But let me quickly add this, because I don't know if I will have the opportunity to say this. One of the ways to, I didn't talk about it, but one of the ways to manage stress is to be more organized at every level. The more organized we are, the more productive we'll become. So we have to be intentional about being organized. And I think that will help. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I remember when I was putting these questions together, somebody said to me, why are you asking about physician suicide in Nigeria? And when I answered,
coming to this conference, I have one message for this house, and it's that if you really mean the business of keeping each and every one of us healthy, we must make room for it. So where is the clinic that the medical doctor goes to without being stigmatized? It is not there. Who does he or she talk to without being stigmatized? Is not there. So what do we do? I belong to certain associations, they're counselors, and honestly, part of your regular yearly certification some sort is that you talk to somebody else, you debrief once or twice a year, and it is compulsory. Because if you say you're a counselor, then your head must be correct. So, if we don't want people stigmatized, I have a proposal. Can in each local government, can we designate one clinic? And we say it's a physician's clinic. And the business going there, they can have other businesses, but that is where all the physicians in that community go to once or twice a year, compulsory, to go and check out their BP, check out their blood pressure, fill some forms, mental health forms, because there is screening. We can easily detect depression before it gets to severe depression. You know, there's screening. If you're not sleeping well and all that, they pick it up. You see a specialist within that facility, because all of us are going there. We don't know who came out with positive or negative screening. All of us went there, so there's no stigma. So all of us go in there, and then the physicians working there will pick up those that need help and will help them on time. Until we put down something that helps us, then we're all just still talking.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Darren, I agree with me, but one of the most humorous people in medicine are psychiatrists. It's a good defense mechanism, so I would encourage you to please take it on. And as we close, we'll close with our mantra that there is no health without mental health. Thank you so much.
Please give them a round of applause. That's why we succeed more, because we don't dwell on problems. We move to solutions straight. Now, the solution is, we are here, AGPMPN. Please create an AGPMPN mental clinic. Access these facilities wherever they are, designate them within your zones. Agree with them, they must give you 50% discount on all the services. And anybody that is referred, we enjoy this. 50% discount. AGPMPN mental link. Connect with them, establish them across your zones, and let them move forward. Drugstore and Old Farm, please. Drugstore and Old Farm. Come up quickly now. Drugstore. Wait, Old Farm, wherever you are, come forward now, so that you take it back to back. Back to back. Drugstore and Old Farm, please. Step up. And MedSap. Please come forward for your presentation. I want to believe that you'll all agree that so far the sessions have been wonderful. Is that correct? That's very good. So you can imagine what day 2 is going to be like. If this is just the tip of the iceberg, it's just the tip, and we're only going to get better and better. Please, doctors, please take your seats. We're going to do this quickly, and we can wrap up today's session.
Drugstore, and I'm actually coming to present an initiative which is AGPMPN initiative. I'm actually here representing AGPMPN and Drugstore. I was doing clinic residency in the same teaching hospital. My elder brother was a plastic surgeon. He's a plastic surgeon. Same hospital. My mom was the head of the nursing unit. She was the ADNS. And we, all of us in the same family, couldn't get him his medication. Now you can imagine, that can happen to any of us. Now, that at the time, I just passed my primaries and I started my residency. But after we lost him, it made me start to question. I started to existentially consider the healthcare system. And one of the things that kept bothering me was, he didn't die because there was no expert around. I mean, our family friends were the heads of the internal medicine department, our family friends, were the chief medical, like the entire, thank you very much.
More to come tomorrow, so we can continue. We have been well educated on different aspects of the theme as has been outlined for today. There are different outcomes that we're going to take away from here. AGPMPN should note. The organizers, Dr. Oshami Louis, Premier Medical, should also take note. So that when you are conveying your message to government, these issues will be very well addressed.
Thank you very much. Let's make that applause a better one. You will agree with me that our MC has done a wonderful job today. A pass mark for the MD, for the MC. A bigger round of applause again. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. You've done a good job. And this is Olufunko Luole. Thank you very much. Announcement, please. Tomorrow we are starting from 8. Please let 8 be late. Secondly, if you did not get a conference bag, please kindly register your name at registration point.
As an end, as interesting as the program has been, some of us would have wished we build a tabernacle here, but it has to come to an end. And we want to, at this juncture, we want to thank everyone that has made it possible to be the resounding success that it has been. Our thanks goes to the state government that was ably represented, the commissioner, the speaker of the House of Assembly, and all those that honored us with their presence, everyone that has contributed to the success of the first day of this wonderful AGM through scientific conference. We thank you very much, all the pharmaceutical industries represented, all that have contributed to the success. We want to say a big thank you. We like to say a big thank you to all the participants. We want to thank you especially all members of AGPMPN. You have made us proud by coming promptly and coming early. I would like to see a repeat performance tomorrow. We'd like to thank the company. Give me your audience, and you must do so now because it's time for prayer. Can you rise so that we can pray? And I wish that you remain silent as we pray. Our Father and our God, we want to thank you. We thank you for this wonderful occasion. We thank you for every resource that you have put in our direction to make it happen. We thank you for the cooperation that we have had from all the participants. Especially, we want to thank you for the attention of government that we have received. We want to commit all that we have deliberated upon, all that we have agreed upon unto your care. Because it is written, whatsoever it is that is committed unto your care, you are able to preserve, you are able to make beautiful, you are able to make happen. Therefore, we know that our project will happen. In the name of Jesus. We want to commit all who participated, all who are present into your hands. We ask that you keep them, we ask that you equip them, we ask that you secure them. We also pray for our practices. We declare, O Lord God, as it is written, when there is a melting down, we shout a lifting up. Even in spite of the economy, we will testify. Our practices will prosper. Our families are secure in your hand. In the name of Jesus. We commit tomorrow in your care. We declare it will even be more successful, more glorious. In Jesus' mighty name we are praying. Thank you so much.
Pastor Joe. Pastor DFM Joe. was supposed to be one of them.